Hi there, my name is Toby, and on this channel I talk about internal body dynamics and the chi energy, the life force. And this is part 10 of my series on effortless walking. And today we're actually going to be doing walking, power walking and running. We're working up to running. So this is all about body alignment, body posture. And I do suggest you watch the whole series before this one, because this is the final part of the practical element to this. There's two more parts to the series coming, which will be theoretical only, but also very important. But this is the last practical one. So you can just see me here walking along. Now I'm bouncing on the ball of the feet. My feet are not flat-footed, very close to being flat-footed, but not quite flat-footed. My arms are swinging loose, my shoulders are up and back a bit, my belly's pulled in, my rib cage is up and expanded a little bit, my sternum is tilted upwards. I've still got a backwards arch in the lumbar spine, and I've got a vertical alignment through the spine going down to the back of the heels, but I'm on the toes. So I've got to adjust the angle of my legs, the angle of my hips to allow this to happen. Now here the arms are bent 90 degrees. This is the more efficient position for faster walking or power walking, otherwise you can have straight arms. Now here I'm pulling myself along. It's a bit funny, but what you've got to do is pull yourself forward from below the belly button. This is the position from propulsion, your center of gravity. You're pulling yourself forward from there. And this will also help you to get the alignment of the spine, because it feels like you're leaning backwards. It feels unusual. Now also, with your knees bent, you've still got to have this leaning backwards feel. The alignment is to the back, but I'm on the toes. I'm on the ball of the foot. It's a little bit tricky. You've got to work up to this. There's a lot of work going on in walking and running. They're, as I say in this series, very high level mastery skills that we've got to keep on practicing, keep getting better and better at it. Now here, nice relaxed walking, getting to bigger steps. Power walking is increasing the size of the stride. You can increase the spring in your hip joint, really activate the hips. This will allow a bigger step. And using the ligaments, the elasticity of the ligaments in the hip joint to really power the step. But you also remember on the ball of the foot, you're reaching out with the front foot, tippy toes, catching with the tippy toes and pulling yourself forward from the front foot, but you're also propelling yourself from the back foot. So there's a crossover, you pull and then you push. You can have the arms swinging. Totally relaxed arms. They swing to create momentum and to create a balance through the spine. You see the hips and the shoulders swing opposite to each other. There's a counter twist through the spine, and this allows you to balance along the vertical spine and along your center line, the center of gravity, or the vertical line that passes through your center of gravity. And the spine is towards the back of your body. That's why it feels like you're leaning back. It's a bit unusual. Now I'm increasing the stride and swinging the arms a bit further, a bit higher. But again, it's all to do with the rhythm. When you want to go faster, you need to bend the arms because you don't have so much time. The swing has got to be faster, it's got to be shorter. And the swing comes from the spine. You hold the belly in. You use the obliques. So the belly, the abdominal muscles are working very slightly, but it's holding an isometric tension through the spine. You're lifting up the frame like a dancer. And then you're floating along, you're bouncing along. The arms and legs are free. You see, there's a moment when one leg is loose in the air. And that's the moment you can relax it, total relaxation. The other leg is holding your body weight, but you hold your body weight through the tendons, the ligaments, and the balance through your center of gravity. If you get the alignment of your center of gravity, it's relatively effortless to hold up your body weight. When you lean forward, it makes you hunch forward, you work your back muscles, your center of gravity is falling forward, you work too hard. But we lean forward when walking because we're so used to it. Everything goes forward, you hunch forward, you look forward, your neck projects forward because we're going forward. So you've got to beat that. You've got to lean backwards, stay tall even though you're going forward. Head up nice and high. You see you're looking slightly upwards, but you pull the chin in. There's a stretch in the neck. And then it's all in the rhythm, the twist in the spine. The hips are slightly projected backwards. You've got an arch in the lumbar spine. You've got to have this arch that gives a spring, a bounce even in the spine. But you protect the spine by holding the belly in. That counteracts the arch. You don't want to lean too far back. You don't want to weaken your spine. It's got to be the natural S-curve of the spine. And then likewise, the shoulders are up and back a bit, and you open the shoulders sideways, you expand the shoulders from the rib cage. and you breathe deeply into the back of the ribs. Expand the ribs right at the back when you breathe in. You'll feel it. It expands the rib cage. It lifts the shoulders up a bit more and expands the shoulders outwards, sideways. And this helps to hold your structure, hold the spine up, and it keeps your balance. You feel like you're floating. You're like an inflated air balloon, lifting up, gliding along. And when you get this feeling right, it's like your legs are doing one thing and your upper body is doing something else. They're connected. Your legs are walking along, floating along, but your upper body is just relaxed. It's like it's leaning back in a chair. So your upper body is totally relaxed, leaning back in a chair. Your arms are just swinging, totally relaxed. And your legs are just doing enough movement to create this rhythm and hold your body weight. But it's a very slight isometric tension, just enough to hold the structure. And the bounce is in the foot. You landing forward with a relaxed foot. Again, it's tricky to relax your foot. Your toes tend to flex backwards. What you've got to do is let your foot relax and the toes just fall forward. So you naturally point your tippy toes down. It's very subtle, and I'm landing on the outside towards the little toe, but then it goes down towards the whole foot. It's very soft, very gentle, and it's slightly outwards because I've got a slight outwards turn of the hip joint. Now what I'm doing is moving to running. You see the slight outwards turn, very slight of the hip joint, allows more mobility, more twist in the hip, and a greater spring, a bounce. Now you see as I'm moving towards running, this is still like power walking, gliding along, but it's a bounce. I'm springing through the legs, springing through the joints, opening up the legs. Again, flying along. I call this white crane skimming along the water. It's like a bird flying along. They're floating, they're just trying to land, and their legs just skimming along the water. So your tippy toes only land. I'm never going flat-footed. The heel does not touch the ground. There you can see now I'm going a bit more dramatic. I'm trying to show height. But if I was actually sprinting, running a longer distance, it's not so much height, but of course it's length. You're reaching forward, trying to extend. But here, so I'm trying to show this to you, I'm also trying to achieve a certain amount of height so that you can understand and see the bounce. I'm literally bouncing on the foot. It's the ball of the foot bounces to the arch of the foot, bounces to the ankle, the Achilles tendon. There's not so much on the knee, it then goes to the hips. There's a bounce in the hips as well. The hips are active. So you bend the hips as you land, you're cushioning a little bit, but then you're also squeezing the glutes to propel. And the front foot reaches forward, catches with the tippy toes, pull yourself forward, pull yourself back rather, and then it pushes. There's a movement, a pulling and a pushing of each leg. And of course, there's a moment when you're in mid-air. When you're mid-air, you can relax. No work is required when you're in mid-air. That's where the efficiency comes in, minimum effort. You're just flying along. All you're doing is allowing the momentum of the rhythm to fly you through the air, propel you through the air, and the counter twist in the spine just enough so that the back foot is reaching out to land. Reaching out to land, and then you bounce. Cushion with an elasticity in the ligaments. And again, the arms you see are 90 degrees bent. The shoulders are still up and back. This again is important. Don't reach forward. You're holding the shoulders up and back because you want to still keep this natural backwards arch of the spine. Now I'm running, and when you're running, I'm levering slightly forward. If you see carefully, I've got a slight forward lever in the spine, but it's still straight. It's still got the S curve. And that lever forward it's like a jump. I'm jumping along, so I'm midway between a jump. Holding that position is what I call the neutral stance. Now you can see in slow motion. So the neutral stance in the spine is held stationary and the arms and legs are moving. It all comes from a twist, a counter twist in the spine, and now it's a more dramatic bounce from the ankles and the hips. And the legs stay more bent, they're more bent, so the knee is moving, but the impact is not taken by the knee. So you look carefully now how much I'm bouncing. I'm gaining more height, but the secret is increasing your stride. You want to get further, longer steps, but here you can see I'm going a bit higher. But please do understand, I'm trying to show this height to show you the bounce. If you had more distance, it takes a while to really build this up. I'll have to try it one day, get someone to help me, film me going along. But once you build it up, it's extremely powerful and it's very hard to stop. You get into the rhythm and the stride gets bigger and bigger, longer and longer. And of course it's very dangerous because you're only on the tippy toes and you have to stop slowly. But it's different to what you know, these other athletes might do, because I'm trying to move like an animal. An animal will do this. It's spring loading all the way from the toes, and it's right to the tippy toes, squeezing the toes right to the tip. If I can get that final extension in the tippy toe, that is another 5% power added to the run or the walk. See, I'm walking along now, again back to relaxed walking, but I can do more power in the ball of the foot to the tippy toe. I can make more effort just in that final bounce. So the rest of my body's not doing much, but I might be really working the ball of the foot and my tippy toe. So my feet are really aching. And as I practice this, of course, I've done hundreds, if not thousands of miles now walking on my toes like this. So your ankles, your toes, your foot gets tired, and your calf muscle gets tired, but it's a good tiredness. And you check, your knee is not tired. Your knee must not be hurting. Very careful of the knee. If your knee is hurting, slow down, be careful. You've got to take the bounce, the cushion into the foot, the ankle and the hip. The hip joint must bounce. In other words, you've got to let the hip project back a little bit and go forward a little bit. Tiny little bit of a bounce. See, when you land in a jump, if you land and then stick your bottom out as you land, you're absorbing that cushion into the hip joint by sticking your bottom out, projecting backwards the hips. Otherwise, if the hips are locked, the impact will go into the knee. So the secret of efficiency is no impact in the knee. Very careful. Now you might still work the knee, it might be aching, but be careful of sharp pain, and it should recover quickly. You see, the feet, the calf muscles, the ankle, all these are ligaments. They are designed to work massive endurance. And I believe if you can do this efficient walking, you can have nearly infinite endurance. The wild men, they just walk forever. And you can see the Kenyans, the Africans, they come and do the marathon. And there's a whole style of walking called Kenyan walking, which you could look into this. But these guys walk the marathon in their flip-flops. And it's nothing to them. They're wondering what the fuss is about. A long marathon walking, they do this every day. They walk to the marathon, walk along the marathon in their flip-flops, and then walk home afterwards. It's not a big deal to them. So that because they have a different efficiency in their body, they're used to it. And you see they're very tall, they're long, they've got strong, powerful ligaments, and they're using them correctly. The wild men used to know how to do this, and we've got to get this back. We've got to get the wild body back. Now here again, I'm going to much longer, bigger strides. So power walking is somewhere between this relaxed walking and running. And here, of course, now look, it's the height. I'm really bouncing, trying to get height. But if you see, I'm sort of gliding along. My center of gravity is relatively stationary. I'm maintaining the height because I'm bouncing right to the tippy toes. I'm tall. It's right to the tippy toes. Very tricky. You've got to work at this. And just keep practicing, experimenting with your body. Find all the different variations, the hips, the feet, the ankles, the toes, the angle of the hips, the angle of the feet. Just play with this. So I really hope this made sense and you could understand what I'm trying to get across here. As I said, please check out the whole series and stay tuned for the final 2 parts. There'll be 2 more parts on theory, very important theory. So thank you so much for watching and I look forward to seeing you in any of these other videos here.